You can know everything there is to know about sales. You can know all the tactics, have a perfect script. But if you're still selling from scarcity, like if your belief system hasn't upgraded for you to believe that you're worthy of making the amount of money you want and that you're good enough to be able to make that money, I'm telling you, this is where salespeople get blindsided. They've mastered all the techniques and all the skills of like a great salesperson. They've mastered the skill of projecting confidence, but they've never really developed a belief underneath that skill. They've just never done it. It's kind of like an actor who memorizes all the lines but never really steps into the role. Your money story isn't about numbers. It's not about how much is in the profit and loss column. It's not even about how much you make or how much you keep and how much has nothing to do with the numbers. Money doesn't even recognize numbers. Money is an idea. Money is an idea that operates as an exchange for value. It doesn't care how much it is. It's just exchanging the value. And if you don't value you, if you don't place a value on what you do, you will always ask for less value. And then you'll just automatically make less money. It's not about money. It's about self-identity. It's about self-image. See, you have a self-identity, and that self-identity is made up of two things. Your self-image. That's the image you hold of yourself, how you see you, and how you believe the world sees you. And then you have self-esteem. This is my personal self-regard, how I value me, and how I train the world to treat and value me. The composite of my self-image and my self-esteem, the composite of that creates a self-belief, a self-identity. And most salespeople are trying to grow their income without doing the work to really, I hate to say this word, but I'm going to say it, heal the beliefs that reject it. It sounds new agey, sounds touchy feely, like maybe we should, light a candle and sing a chant, heal our beliefs. But that's what it is. In the book, The True Believers, Eric Hoffer wrote this. Eric Hoffer was one of the most prolific writers on human behavior, success, and achievement. Well, like why we do the things we do and why we don't do some of the things we would really love to do. And in that book, he says this. He says that no matter what your achievements may be, like doesn't matter how good you've been in the past, no matter what your achievements may be, we think well of ourselves. We think well of ourselves only in rare moments. That within us, we have an internal judge that keeps a book of our transgressions, of our failures, of all the things we've ever done that we believe were wrong, of all the bad things. And then he said something really powerful. He said, and we need other people to bear witness against the judge who keeps this book of our transgressions and our failures and our limiting beliefs. We need other people to convince us that we're not as bad as we believe we are. If you're hurting yourself, if you're sabotaging your future, if you're saying things to you that you would never let another person say to you, if you're being cheated and robbed, maybe you do need to heal. Maybe that is the word. Maybe it is about healing the beliefs that reject our true potential. Maybe that's what it is. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen salespeople run incredible calls. And then just as they're getting ready for the close, they downshift into some low gear because the number feels too big. They're not scared of the client. They're scared of the success that will come if the client actually says yes. Because if the client says yes and they do really well, the image of themselves and how they've seen themselves dies. This is what Paul talked about in the book of Romans. It's a renewal of your mind. And for most people, the pain of that old life dying, the pain of all the stories and all the attachments. You see, when I had to actually start taking responsibility for my life and for my results, I could no longer run around and tell the sad little story of Paul, the little abused boy. I could no longer talk about how, my big evil mom. I couldn't talk about the unfair injustice of, the school system, or because none of that matters. Like, if you're going to step in as an adult now and take total responsibility, so what about the past? Past doesn't equal the future. And in the big scheme of things, what happened to me was nothing compared to what happens to most people who are, in abusive homes. There's kids that grow up in far worse conditions than I ever had it. And so at some point in time, that story has to die. And again, I don't know if it's that they're scared of success, but they're scared of the change that comes with it. Some of what comes with it is the increased expectation of other people. Like all of a sudden, geez, I remember when I was growing my one business, we had done 10 million. I doubled the business the next year to 20 million. And man, did I feel the weight of the expectation. Like, oh, wow. Like, what's he going to do next? How big's this thing going to go? That pressure and like, what will they think of me? Do I have to go from 10 to 20, 20? Do I have to go to 40? Like, if I don't hit 40 million, did I fail? What will people think of me? And I was in my head. No matter what our achievements may be, we think well of ourselves only in rare moments. I spent half of my life unconsciously working to prove that I was dumb and stupid. Not because that's what I wanted, but because that's what I believed. Even after I started to succeed, I would downplay it. I would discount it. I would disqualify my contribution. Oh, it was the team. Oh, it's an easy market. Oh, the marketing team did a great job, because what I was trying to do was disqualify me, because my self-identity hadn't caught up with my results yet. And consequently, what most people do is what I did, is that my results would begin to go down. I would create lower and lower and lower levels of success and achievement to match my self-image that hadn't grown up to my, lucky streak. Isn't it interesting? Particularly in the car sales industry. You go to a car dealership, and man, car dealerships are tough. The auto industry is tough. Everything is measured. Everything matters. They know, like, nobody knows their business better than the auto industry. And in almost every single dealership, I'd bet $1,000 that in any legitimate dealership you go into, there is a results board for sales that is current, and a wall of plaques that honors the past achievements. So you can go into a car dealership on any given day, you find out where the sales manager is, and I bet there's a big whiteboard that has every salesperson's name, today's date, and a list of what's sold, what they've sold, what their results are, what their numbers are, what their pipeline looks in. And then if you go over to the wall, you'll see, last year's, January salesperson of the month, February salesperson of the month. What's interesting is every once in a while you'll see, okay, geez, Jim was number one in January, and then he was number one in February, and then he was in March, and then not in April, not in May, not in June, not in July, not in August, But hold it. Jim won like he was number one for the whole first quarter. Like he had done more business in his first quarter than he had done more than he did half the year last year. He was on his way to doubling, maybe tripling. And then all of a sudden, he fell off the face of the earth. He missed deals. He dropped the ball. He didn't get the paperwork right. He didn't, he didn't run the credit check right. He got the upsell wrong. And it's like, Jim, you were doing so great. I know. What happened? I don't know. But like you won January, February, March. I mean, you win like last April was like your best month last year. This was a layup. Yeah, I don't know what happened. And he's not lying. And it's not like he's intentionally not trying. He's not lying or trying. I mean, he is failing because the cybernetic mechanism, the control mechanism, like the thermostat is the mechanism that controls the temperature. The thermometer tells you what the temperature is. Your self-belief is your thermostat. And so Jim, if Jim's set to making $125,000 a year, if that's where he's set, he may start to like outpace that. He may all of a sudden be pacing for 175, 180. And it's like, oh my goodness, here we go. But then, just like a thermostat works, it measures the deviation from the set goal. So in my house, the temperature's set at 72. If that temperature drops or increases, the whole system changes. So if one of my boys leaves the door open and warm air starts to come in, and all of a sudden the temperature goes up to 74, 75, 76, as soon as it starts to rise, boom, a message is sent through the wiring system of the house. The blower is turned on, the fan is turned on, Freon gas is released, and cold air starts to pump out of every single opening we have. Every vent in the house starts to pump cold air until the thermometer drops to 72 and the thermostat reads the thermometer setting and says, okay, that matches the programming, and it stops. You have a cybernetic mechanism in you. You want to know what you're programmed to believe you're worth? Look at your results. Go back to last April and look at your tax return. That'll tell you what you believe you're worth. That'll tell you exactly what you believe your value is. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Results don't lie. If you start to outproduce that number, or if you fall below that number, what happens? Your self-image measures the deviation, says, hold it, we're doing too good. We're not supposed to be this far ahead. You're not going to be able to sustain that. You've never been up here. And then we sabotage your behavior. Or, like Jim falls off the face of the earth, he's doing great January, February, March, he's going up. What happens? Cybernetic mechanism, his self-image catches the deviation from his set goal. Boom! He overcorrects. He doesn't get on the board in April, May, June, July, August, September. Next thing you know, in October, boop, there's Jim's face again. Why? Because he had gone too far down now. He overcorrected. See, my results would decrease again and again and again to match my old self-image until I changed it. Like if you feel guilty around receiving money, you'll try to deserve your way to wealth, usually by overworking, overgiving, overcomplicating your business. When we have guilt attached to our success and achievement, and trust me, guilt comes in multiple layers of frequency, multiple levels of awareness. Just like there are different types of grief, there is different types of guilt. But the belief system that you hold and I hold around guilt is probably the same, and that is guilty people should be punished. And so if you see yourself as guilty for making more money, and somehow because you've made more, you've created some kind of an environment that demands somebody else by law must make less. It's like somehow the universe isn't abundant enough to have you both be wealthy. This is what most people believe. They believe that the only way somebody got rich is by making other people poor. It makes no sense if you really start to think about it. What, the universe is somehow limited in its ability. God is somehow limited in his ability to create abundance for everyone. He has to create a universe in which there's haves and have-nots. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And so, like, if you believe that, and then you see yourself as, you feel guilt for being successful, guilty people need punished. You believe that too. And who better to punish you than you? Who better to hurt you than you? Real sales performance requires alignment between your inner identity, your self-concept, and the goals you declare that you want to hit. And until these two things match, your action will always pull you right back before the moment of your breakthrough. You will not create sustained change. See, most salespeople set goals based on what they want to have, what they want to have. They want more income, they want more clients, they want more freedom, without ever asking, who do they need to be in order to create and then hold on to that reality. So we have kind of all these outcome goals, all these outcome kind of visions, but we never really seem to put ourselves in the middle of that vision. Again, your self-concept, this is your self-belief, your self-esteem, leads the way to the corresponding results that you create, to the behaviors that create your results. See, the salesperson who leads with conviction, with clarity, with confidence, they're not lucky. They're intentionally creating certainty. And they're doing that because they've done the inner work that make their default setting in harmony with who they want to be, in harmony with success and achievement. Now, here's the unfair part. Some people, didn't grow up at 430 Coolidge Avenue like I did. Some people didn't grow up in poverty. Some people didn't grow up in an environment where they were abused. Some people didn't grow up in an environment where they were put down. Some people didn't grow up in an environment where, they expected very little of themselves. Some people grew up in a loving home. Some people grew up in a loving home where they were encouraged and they were nurtured, and their parents believed in themselves and would read to them and tell them that they were great. And some people made it out of childhood undamaged and start off with this great self-image. But that if that's not your picture, like if you didn't grow up in the Leave It to Beaver household like I did, I grew up in the Munsters. Okay, I grew up in where it was kind of ugly. If you grew up in poverty consciousness, if you grew up where there was struggle financially, if the talking about money was how little you had, then chances are you've got to do some work. Now, that may not be fair, but hey, those are the cards you're dealt. And I'm just suggesting that you don't have to play the cards you're dealt. You can take the cards you dealt, throw them back to the center of the table, and say to life, give me a new hand. But you've got to do that work. See, you can't hustle your way past your own nervous system. You can't hustle your way past a negative belief system. You can't outwork that. Like if your subconscious mind still thinks that success is unsafe for you, if your subconscious mind still holds on to beliefs that you're unworthy, or it doesn't fit who you are, or that if you get ahead, you're actually hurting other people, because you're taking more than your fair share. You don't want to be one of those people. This old identity will keep you trapped. You have no hope of outproducing that belief system and what that belief system will create. No hope. It's just the way it is. This isn't even like psychology. This is universal law. You can't like if you are programmed at this frequency, I'm sorry. You do not operate at this frequency. Now, you may from time to time pop up and raise your level of awareness to be in tune with what it is that you want for a short period of time. But just like Jim, our salesperson, bump, you'll go right back down. You don't get what you want. You get who you believe you are. And this is, I think for most people, the struggle here is that it seems like it's taking forever. This is why change feels slow, because you're not just learning a new skill. It's not like you can read about self-belief and then after you read it and understand it, you can change it. That's a big frustrating thing, because there's lots of educated people on the topic who have terrible self-images. They know all about it. They can teach it. They can talk the game. But then you look at their results and you think, how's that showing up in their life? You can't just unlearn your old self. You have to do the work. And so when you finally release this identity that's attached to scarcity, that's attached to poverty consciousness, that's attached to struggle, that's attached to all these limiting beliefs, you stop chasing success. And you actually become a person who just naturally attracts it, who just naturally sets up the conditions and circumstances for it to happen. When I'm mentoring somebody, I'll often say, I don't know that you can make something happen, but you can make something welcome in your life. You can create the conditions and circumstances in order for it to happen. See, rewiring your beliefs isn't a one-time mindset shift. It's a process of emotional repetition. This is like intentionally over and over and over again, building your identity the same way your limiting belief was created. Like mine, over and over and over again. You're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never amount to anything. Who do you think you are? We don't have the money. See, you have to intentionally become the vibrational match for the future you want. Not just intellectually understand it, but I'm talking about emotionally at the deepest subconscious level, because emotion is energy. Emotion, it's what drives behavior. It's what drives behavior. That's why sales is always emotion. People always buy on emotion and justify it with logic. See, one of the first people who helped me rewire my thinking was a guy by the name of Patrick Hayes. He was a retired trader on Wall Street, and he gave me a copy of the book. I'll have my team put a copy of the cover of the book in a slide so you can see what it looks like. Now, when he gave me the book, it was brand new. So the picture you're looking at right now on the screen shows a beat up book. It's because I've read the book thousands of times. And when he gave me Think and Grow Rich, he didn't just give me the book. He mentored me through it. He taught me that the version of me that I wanted to become was already there. It was already there. I just had to first find him and then believe in myself so that I could see it. And so that I could see that identity. See, you already have everything that's necessary. But if you lack the awareness, what good is having it? See, most people, you know this, you see people with potential. It's not that they don't have the potential. It's that they don't have the awareness of the potential. See, your results are not a reflection of your potential. Your results are not a reflection of what you can do. Your results are a reflection of what you believe you can do. The awareness you have of what you can do. Your results reflect the awareness of your potential. And as you become more aware of your infinite potential, all of a sudden you begin to export that which you are aware of. But awareness has to come first. You have to you have to see it to believe it. See, the most powerful way to rewire your beliefs is to create a daily pattern of mental rehearsal. A daily pattern. See, this means seeing yourself succeed in the exact moments where you've historically pulled back. That's why it's important that you record your calls. See, when it's time to ask for the sale, most people hold back. When it's time to talk about money, this is where people hold back. When it's time for you to step in and own your own value and claim yourself as an authority, this is where people step back. And it's simply because they've never visualized themselves success. So you're practicing how it feels in your body to become the version that already lives in this reality. Calm, clear, convicted, and certain. The second way to rewire your beliefs is through what I call evidence stacking. So what you're looking to do is you're looking every single day to collect daily proof that your new identity is taking root. So you track the moments that you hold your price. You track the calls where you stay present instead of reactive. You be intentional about seeing the wins for yourself. And this is hard for most people. Most people have been told, don't think highly of yourself. That's arrogance. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. So when you find yourself doing the right things, thinking the right things, believing the right things, stack the wins, even the small ones, because the universe doesn't recognize big or small. Like the room you're in right now, if we were to ask the universe, is this room big or small? The universe says this room just is. It just is. It's neither big nor small. What makes it big or small is what I believe and compare it to. If I compare my studio right now to the grand ballroom at the Breakers Hotel, this is small. If I compare it to, maybe my bathroom, this might be large. See, until your subconscious mind starts to see a new pattern, it will continue to operate on the old one. But the minute that it starts to see a new pattern developing as normal, it begins to make a shift. And finally, you have to really choose your environment wisely. See, you will not rewire your identity if you're surrounded by people committed to playing small. So you have to put yourself in rooms where you are the new standard bearer. Like you're holding the baseline, where your self-image is built by proximity to what you really desire, where possibility is really molded, not just talked about, but really lived. I've always said, if you're the wealthiest person in your group, get a new group. If you're the smartest person, get a new group. If you're the most successful, get a new group. Get a new group. Look, your income will never rise higher than the identity you're willing to embody and embrace. So stop trying to outwork your programming. Stop trying to be busy. It doesn't work. Start becoming the version of you who already lives in the future that you want. This isn't mumbo jumbo new age stuff. And this certainly isn't just positive thinking hype. If you looked at my results, I started in 1988, a small company called At Your Service Commercial Cleaning, service with the white glove touch, with $200 as a high school dropout with no experience. I sit now, at the time of this recording, and where I sit right now is probably one of the wealthiest. If it's not the wealthiest, it's one of the top 3 or 4 wealthiest zip codes in the country. I've generated not millions, but tens of millions of dollars of net worth. Net worth. I travel all over the world. I live a really beautiful, beautiful life. but I created that life. It's not the normal story of a high school dropout. Most high school dropouts do not have a net worth of tens of millions of dollars. See, there's no amount of positive thinking hype. There's no amount of new age mumbo jumbo that could create that. By their fruit, you know them. It's about aligning your self-image with the truth of your infinite potential. Now look, if anything that I shared today resonates with you, don't walk away with the insight. That's not the win. Walk away with the tool that helps you take action. Click on that link. Download the belief upgrade. Look, in this guide, if there's a part of you that hasn't done this yet, if you've been watching this and you haven't downloaded that, I'm going to suggest that the reason why you haven't is because this part of you knows that if you did, you might grow. If you haven't downloaded this guide, I'm suggesting that this is you quietly sabotaging yourself, wrapped up in the reasoning that says, well, all he wants is my email address, or all he's going to do is try to sell me. Who the hell cares? Who cares if I have your email address? Who cares if I'm trying to sell you? If there's one idea in this guide that could help you, if there's one idea that could give you an edge, why wouldn't you take it? And why wouldn't, if I was trying to sell you, why wouldn't you buy? Why wouldn't you invest in you? See, this guide is a roadmap for rewiring your self-concept so that you can sell, so that you can lead, so that you can perform from a very strong self-concept rather than insecurity and struggle. Now, look, you're going to find the link below. Get it now. And then I want you to come right back and I want you to watch the next video, 40 brutal truths that I wish I knew when I was in my 20s. Remember, that's when I started my company. It's raw, it's honest, and it's going to challenge the way you think about growth. I'll see you there.